Very glad you could join us. We begin tonight at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where President Bola Tinubu has tasked the media to promote national cohesion and strengthen democracy through responsive journalism. The president made the charge while declaring open the 21st All Nigeria Editors Conference in Abuja. My colleague, Bettina Uweli, was there.
Declaring the event open, President Bola Tinubu commended the Nigerian press for its historic role in defending democracy, describing journalism as an instrument of national awakening.
This conversation is necessary as we continue to build institutions that are transparent, resilient, and trusted by our citizens. Throughout our history, journalism in Nigeria has been more than a profession. It has been an instrument of national awakening.
As custodians of information and interpreters of events, editors shape public opinion and set the tone of national conversation. Our decisions, what we publish, how we frame stories, and the voices we amplify have far-reaching implications for democracy and unity.
Also speaking, the keynote speaker and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, urged editors to uphold truth, fairness, and professionalism in shaping public discourse, warning that misinformation and cynicism can weaken the nation's unity. While the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, described the president's attendance as a historic first, underscoring the administration's respect for press freedom.
For the first time in our nation's history, a sitting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is gracing the Nigerian Guild of Editors Conference with his presence. This is a powerful testament to the high esteem in which this administration holds the fourth estate of the realm.
The electoral integrity begins with editorial integrity. So there is a need to understand what electoral integrity means in every sense. It cannot be only about ballots. It cannot be about security alone and logistics. It must include the integrity of the information Nigerians consume about those processes.
The Editors' Conference continues tomorrow with discussions focused on the future of journalism, national unity, and strengthening democratic institutions in Nigeria. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Uweli.
Thanks, Bettina. The federal government says ongoing diplomatic engagement between Nigeria and the United States are yielding positive outcomes and helping to ease tensions in bilateral relations. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, disclosed this on Tuesday, confirming that new channels of communication have improved mutual understanding between both nations. He explained that earlier misunderstandings stemmed from an incomplete grasp of Nigeria's complex internal challenges. Idris also alleged links between a proscribed separatist group in Nigeria and US-based lobbyists spreading misleading narratives about the country. For this conversation, let's now turn to former Director General of the National Institute for International Affairs, Professor Bola Akinteriwa. Thank you very much for being here. Do you buy the minister's submission that the U.S. is getting a better understanding of the situation and that diplomatic channels already opened were proving effective towards resolving the tense relationship the two countries currently have? Prof, did you get my question? Hello,
yes,
Prof.
I can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Okay, I just wanted us to open with, I'm asking if you buy the minister's submission that the U.S. is getting a better understanding of the situation and that diplomatic channels that they've already opened were working to resolve the tense relationship between the two countries.
Yeah, you see, it is very difficult to agree with the postulation of the information minister. You see, the minister has his own interpretation and understanding of the situation. But the understanding of the minister is quite different from the understanding of the United States. You see, what is missing is that many people, partly right, but mostly wrong, believe that the United States is more interested in Christian genocide, that he wants to really stop that. That is just a secondary issue in the matter. The bitter truth is that in the strategic calculation of the United States under Donald Trump, what he wants, is nothing more than a regime change. Donald Trump wants a president of Nigeria that will be subservient.
I'm sorry to interject.
Let me remind everyone that.
I'm sorry to interject, sir. I just wanted to get clarification. Are you alleging that Trump is looking to change governments in Nigeria?
I am not only alleging, I have postulated, I am saying that the situational reality on ground does not lend any credence to the fact that the major concern of the United States is, Christian genocide. I am saying that, look, for instance, there is no attention anymore on the Niger Delta. Nobody is talking about crude oil that had been generating much interest. The northern part of Nigeria is now well known. Northern part of Nigeria has become a terra cognita for solid minerals, and everybody is interested in that.
Okay, Prof, I need to interject again. I'm sorry, because we have viewers watching. I'm sorry I have to interject again, just for clarity. On the one hand, you said you're not so sure about the minister getting a better understanding, or maybe that's his understanding of the situation. On the other hand, you're concurring that there is a complex security scenario that is not being taken into cognizance. Why this focus on genocide? So I want to ask you, from what precedents, if any, are you drawing the conclusion about the fact that Trump is looking to change regime by making this allegation that there is a killing of Christians in Nigeria?
Came up with a redefined policy of America first. When he came into power for the first time, he talked about America first. But the second coming, he talked about MAGA, make America great again. What does that one mean? Make America great again means that the United States should not only be given priority in every strategic calculations in global politics, but that America should reflect, to sustain its omnipresence. We have other global competitors now. We have the Chinese first. We have the Russians there as well. And you can know that in West Africa, as of today, the Russians appear now to be gaining more, influence, grand influence, to the detriment of the United States. And the United States must respond. The attitude of Nigeria in recent times is such that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has successfully been affirming national sovereignty. Let me remind you, the Venezuelan convicted criminals in prison in America. The Americans could tell Rwanda. The Americans can tell Eswatini, former Swaziland, that they can take convicted prisoners, and they would take. But when they did that one to Nigeria, please, Nigeria's foreign minister Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga made it clear that we are not interested in that. How would you think Donald Trump will think?
Okay, I mean, I had to give you the opportunity to clarify
So,
the allegation, but we're time pressed as always on the news. So I'll just go ahead and ask you, on the positive side, how can Nigeria leverage this as an opportunity to clarify its narrative rather than simply responding defensively?
You see, the way we have responded, I can say so far so good. The issue is simply that Nigeria must have its own version of the truth, its own version of the statistics. You see, you cannot just sit down and be negotiating. Look, when the United States came up with the idea of what they call guns a-blazing, military intervention, research has shown quite well that Donald Trump simply wants to test the ground. How do the people of Nigeria think? What will they do? How are they going to react? The literature is so clear on this. You know, there are several historiographical data on that, especially from the United States sources, saying that, look, American President Donald Trump simply wanted to see what will happen. Not that he will certainly come and engage in any military intervention. So, in this case, our reaction is quite good to the extent that we are engaging the United States to say, look, we do not want war. But has Nigeria any other option? So, in this case, we are now to reaffirm Nigeria has to engage in citizen diplomacy. In which case,
I really wish we had more time, but the director is telling me we need to go on a short break. So I'll thank you very much for the very short but insightful contribution tonight. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. President Tinubu charges Nigerian editors on responsible journalism, urges them to promote democracy and national unity. Federal government scraps national policy mandating use of indigenous languages as medium of instruction in Nigerian schools. House of Representatives returns to Washington, begins voting on bill to end longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The House of Representatives has set up a special ad hoc committee to act on an urgent motion on the need for action on federal government abandoned landed properties and buildings across the country, which the House says has resulted to a waste of more than 20 trillion naira for the nation. This, among other urgent motions, were the highlights of activities after the suspension of plenary on the first legislative day of the week. News Central's correspondent Idong Joseph has more.
President Bola Tinubu's letter read by the Speaker of the House, Abbas Tajuddin, proposing the creation of a National Cocoa Management Board, led the day's business. The board, according to the President, will regulate and harmonize cocoa-related activities nationwide, including promoting Nigeria's position in the global cocoa value chain.
While I trust that the House will consider the legislation of the bill in an expeditious manner, please accept, Right Honorable Speaker, the assurances of my highest regard.
After the President's letter, the plenary resumed with petitions and urgent motions of public importance. Mohammed Bargaja, member representing Isa, Sabon Birni Federal Constituency of Sokoto State, drew the attention of the House to renewed bandit attacks, which have left more than 20 people dead and displaced thousands. The House resolved to mandate additional deployment of police and military personnel and directed NEMA to provide relief materials to affected communities.
From 6 to 8 November 2025 alone, 24 people were killed, while 41 were kidnapped in the following villages: Kurawa, Adamawa, Isa, Bargaja, Benzanke, and Urarmota.
In another motion, Representative David Agada from Benue State condemned the alleged killing of two of his constituents in Lagos, calling for a thorough investigation and prosecution of the perpetrators. The motion was then referred to the House Committee on Police Affairs for further legislative action.
On the 7th day of November 2025, my constituent by name Solomon Ogbaji was gruesomely killed at Eco Atlantic.
The House expressed concern over the abandonment of over 11,000 landed properties of the federal government.
The House further notes that about 63% of the federal government landed properties and buildings and projects since the nation attained independence has been abandoned without completion.
Lawmakers then resolved to set up a special committee to review previous reports and to make recommendations to avoid continuous waste of public funds. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
The Senate has rejected written explanations forwarded to it by the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, on unaccounted 210 trillion naira from 2017 to 2023. The action of the Senate was carried out on Tuesday by the Committee on Public Accounts, led by Senator Aliyu Wadada, APC, Nasarawa West. The committee had, on the strength of 19 different queries raised against the NNPCL by Office of the Auditor General of the Federation in the financial reports of 2017 to 2023, directed NNPCL to account for 210 trillion naira financial infraction as contained in the reports. Also recall that the management of NNPCL, in line with the directive, had responded to the 19 queries through written explanations but failed to physically appear before the committee yesterday, as earlier suggested and agreed. The committee cautioned the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, for offensive evasiveness, which, according to him, will not make the committee recognize any representation from NNPCL again. The Senate has passed for the second reading a bill seeking to repeal the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act and reenact it as the National Primary Healthcare Development Bill 2025. The bill is expected to establish a stronger legal and institutional framework for accessible and quality primary healthcare services for Nigerians. Lawmakers also passed the Informal Sector Employment Regulation Bill 2025 for third reading, marking a major legislative move to formalize and safeguard millions of domestic workers, interns, apprentices, and other informal sector employees across the country. Our National Assembly correspondent, Sagi Ibrahim, brings us more.
68, 69, 1070.
Lawmakers settle down for the commencement of the day's business. As they wrap up preliminaries, Majority Leader of the Senate, Okweyemi Bamidele, ahead of the commencement of the day's business, dismissed reports of an alleged attempt to remove the President of the Senate, describing the report as misleading.
There was in fact no discussion around the possibility or otherwise of the removal of His Excellency Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio.
As deliberations progressed, a bill seeking to scrap and replace the Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act scaled second reading in the red chambers. The bill, sponsored by Ogun West lawmaker Adiola Solomon, aims to overhaul the country's primary healthcare system.
The current law neither captured the new realities of the universal health coverage and digital health integration, nor the community health insurance. The bill proposed has been designed and structured to ensure that all these gaps are addressed substantially. So this bill calls our attention to the fact that health, Mr. President, is well.
The Senate subsequently referred the bill to the Committee on Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases for further legislative action. Lawmakers during Wednesday's deliberations also passed the Informal Sector Employment Regulations Bill 2025 for third reading. The bill, which passed after its report was presented by the Committee on Employment, Labor and Productivity, is a consolidation of two proposals sponsored Jigawa Northwest lawmaker Hussaini Babangida Uba, and Sani Musa, representing Niger East.
Having thoroughly considered the bill, hereby recommends that the Senate do consider and pass the Informal Sector Employment Regulation Bill 2025 as amended.
The philosophical cornerstone behind this bill is to regulate the employment and conditions of service of domestic workers, which hitherto has been left unregulated.
The legislation establishes a legal framework for employment standards, workplace protection, and the formalization of informal labor markets. The bill now awaits concurrence by the House of Representatives before transmission to the President for assent. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Reactions have continued to trail the final 14-day grace period extended by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to property owners in Asokoro, Maitama, Garki, and Wuse districts to pay a 5 million naira penalty for violating approved land use and purpose clause, or face enforcement action. Analysts say although the said conversion of residential properties to commercial properties is an unpleasant act, an elongated extension period should be given. They, however, add that although the ultimatum is necessary due to the severity of the situation, property owners must comply with laid-down land use regulation.
To ask to say you have changed land, you have changed the purpose for which land was allocated to you, and should you even have changed the purpose in the first place, you contravene land use. Government has now said instead of punishing you by revoking the land, they revoking your allocation, they have said, okay, that thing that you want, we have agreed, take it, do it, but come and pay, because when you are doing conversion, you have to pay.
Mr. Wike, you could be right, but 2 weeks for those who are hearing for the first time that you didn't write letters to, because you need to notify me that I have broken the law. Then I respond to you. Otherwise, if you have not notified me, 2 weeks may be too short. So not follow the administrative processes. You cannot say it's executive handedness. But again, because I want to assume that ignorance of the law should no longer be considered as, should be seen as an excuse. In this case, that I did not know. I am sorry, and I want to, on behalf of these people, apologize to the government, the federal government, as it were, that time needed to be given, a 3-month window, but there are people who still don't know. If government identify all these properties, send them a letter.
Still ahead tonight, Angola marks 50 years of nationhood. We will bring you that story and more when we return. Thank you for staying with us. As Governor Monday Okpeholo marks his first year in office, he has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to infrastructure renewal and people-centered governance. The governor made this known as he led an inspection tour of key projects across Edo South Senatorial District. News Center's Ameze Bazwaye reports.
It was a carnival-like atmosphere across parts of Benin City as Governor Monday Okpeholo inspected some of his administration's flagship projects, from the renovated Army Day Secondary School to the ongoing Adesua Junction flyover and the 8.23-kilometer Okbaga-Amufi Road. At Army Day Secondary School, students and teachers lined the walkways in excitement, waving flags and singing songs to welcome the governor. The once neglected school now boasts of fully equipped science laboratories and renovated classrooms, a transformation the governor said reflects the kind of change his administration promised Edo people.
The idea is to beautify our state, to make it a modern city where everybody can now come and dwell. I have no other business here than to develop the city and build new roads for our people to enjoy. That is the essence, and that is why you are seeing us day and night we are working. When we are sleeping, we are thinking it. When we are sleeping, we are dreaming it.
Commissioner for Education Paddy Yamu described the project as a complete turnaround for the state school system, while the chairman of the School Management Committee commended the governor for swift action that has restored dignity to public education.
The governor visited and he said we must rewrite the story. The future of our children lies in what we do today. And what you are seeing today is a testament of a governor that is passionate, a governor that means whatever he says.
The governor's entourage later moved to the Adesua Junction flyover, where construction is progressing faster than scheduled. The special advisor on project monitoring confirmed that the flyover is ahead of time and praised the governor's commitment to transparency, noting that all affected property owners have been duly compensated.
We can see that the width of the road has been increased because we are getting the right-of-way for this project because it's a federal road, but we can see it's in a built-up area. So we even had to constrain the constructor because there's going to be an additional lane of shoulder at the left and at the right for the ramp to pass through.
The inspection continued at the Okpaga Mufi Road project, linking Ikbubaoka and Umuode local government areas, a key route residents say had been abandoned for years. As the governor marks 1 year in office, his administration says its focus remains on delivering sustainable projects that directly improve the lives of Edo people. In Edo, for News Central, Ameze Bazwaye.
Thank you, Ameze. Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo has reiterated his commitment to promoting peace, security and inclusive development as the foundation for sustainable growth. The governor made this known when he received participants of the National Defense College Course 34 study tour at the Government House in Lokoja. Mono Balagbogo reports that the visit also highlighted Kogi's strategic importance in Nigeria's mineral and economic landscape.
Kogi State Government House in Lokoja played host to senior officers and policy experts from the National Defense College Course 34 study tour. The tour centered on the impact of mineral resources on the lives of citizens of the state. Representing Governor Usman Ododo, Deputy Governor Joel Salifu described the visit as both timely and strategic, aligning with the administration's development agenda.
The government of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo has worked tirelessly to consolidate the security architecture inherited from our predecessor. We have strengthened collaboration with security agencies, empowered our community policing structure, and leveraged technology to monitor flashpoints across our borders with 9 states and the Federal Capital Territory.
The provost of the National Defense College, Professor Adam Ahmed, says that Kogi State was chosen for its strategic relevance in Nigeria's security and economic architecture. Ahmed adds that findings from the study tour will form part of a national report for the president's consideration.
The idea is to have a comprehensive studies of this section so that we can advise both, not just the state, but the federal government in refocusing on some of the challenges that are here in the state and at the section, the whole country.
In her remarks, Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Folashade Ayuade, called on the federal government to give more attention to Kogi's vast mineral resources.
Need for the rules on mineral resources, the ownership of mineral resources to be looked into and be reviewed so that not only in petroleum we'll be getting 13% derivation, even in the mineral resources under the ground.
The visit, which brought together participants from across Nigeria and other African nations, underscores the strategic role of Kogi State in fostering sustainable growth through peace, security, and responsible resource management. In Kogi, for News Central, Moino Balagbubu.
So Angola has marked 50 years of independence. They did it with a grand celebration in the capital, Luanda. More than 10,000 people gathered for the historic event, joined by 12 visiting presidents, including leaders from Portugal, Zimbabwe, Namibia and India. The Golden Jubilee featured military parades, cultural performances and tributes to freedom fighters who helped end centuries of colonial rule. The country's President Lourenço highlighted the nation's progress since independence in 1975, saying Angola has overcome 500 years of slavery and humiliation to embrace unity and growth.
São passados 50 anos desde que, como resultado da nossa luta, deixamos para trás 500 anos de colonização, escravatura e humilhação. Passados que foram estes três grandes obstáculos ao nosso desenvolvimento econômico e bem-estar social dos angolanos, uma vez que a guerra ficou para trás.
One of our headlines tonight is the voting on a bill to end the longest government shutdown in the United States history. It is underway at the House of Representatives. If it passes, it will be sent to U.S. President Donald Trump to sign. Trump has said he expects the House to approve the bill passed by the Senate on Wednesday to fund the federal government through January. He said that only people that hate the country want to see it not open. Wall Street stocks rose early today, Wednesday, as markets anticipated a congressional vote that would reopen the government.
And of course, because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits in the midst of a cost of living crisis that already exists, that they failed to address, health care for people all across this country is on the brink of becoming unaffordable. Working class Americans, everyday Americans, middle class Americans, unable to afford to go see a doctor. This is in America, the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Once again, House Republicans, welcome back from your taxpayer-funded 7-week vacation. You now have an opportunity to actually take some action in an area of this healthcare crisis by working with Democrats before the Rules Committee this evening to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Next up is business, sports and entertainment news. Do stay with us.
The Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's request to secure a 1.15 trillion naira loan from the domestic market. This borrowing is intended to close the remaining funding shortfall in the 2025 national budget. Lawmakers adopted the report from the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt on Wednesday. The committee noted that an upward review of the budget to 59.99 trillion naira created a deficit of 14.10 trillion naira. The new loan, which addresses the outstanding gap, was approved with a mandate for the Finance Ministry and Debt Management Office to ensure the terms are favorable and the borrowing is sustainable. The federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria have launched the Disinflation and Growth Acceleration Strategy to curb inflation and accelerate economic growth. Announced by Presidential aide Dada Olusegun, the DGAS aims to lift GDP growth above 7% and bring the current headline inflation rate of 18.02% down to a single digit within 2 years. The strategy will use a single window execution platform for coordinated fiscal and monetary actions, focusing heavily on mobilizing private capital and diversifying energy sources like solar, hydro, and gas to power industrial growth. We'll take a short break, and when we get back, we'll be bringing you the stock market report. Please stay with us. Equities market was on a winning streak today as investors piled into blue chip and banking stocks, pushing the all-share index up by 2.88% to close at 145,403.83 points, and the market capped out at 92.47 trillion naira. Now, market sentiment was decidedly bullish with over 806 million shares traded, a 23% jump in volume, and around impressive 73% rise in turnover. It's another day of green on the NGX as the rally builds momentum and confidence deepens across key sectors. Now let's take a look at what's going on here in the sectoral performance. Now it's a sea of green right behind me, and banking is leading the score chart, closing at a strong 7.39%. Insurance also closed strong at 6.95%. Oil and gas was up 4.11%. Consumer goods also up 2.27%, and industrial goods up a meager 0.43%. Well, and that's how the market wrapped up midweek, strong, confident, and still riding the bullish wave. With banking and insurance stocks leading the charge, investors seem to set on ending the week on a high. Whether this momentum holds till Friday will be one to watch as the NGX continues to flex its resilience in November's trading move. Well, that's all on Business Tonight. My name is Chamun Dabeng.
Welcome to Sports Update. I'm Favor Itua. Nigeria Super Eagles returned to training on Wednesday evening, shifting full attention to Thursday's high-stakes 2026 FIFA World Cup Africa Playoff semi-final against the Panthers of Gabon in Rabat. A pay dispute that disrupted Tuesday's session has now been resolved, allowing the squad to refocus on securing a place in Sunday's final. The team trained at the facility in the city of Saleh, just outside Rabat, with all invited players involved. Meanwhile, President of the Nigeria Football Federation, Ibrahim Gusso, who visited the team camp earlier, has expressed confidence that the team will deliver. Thursday's match at the Prince Moulay Al Hassan Sports Complex, scheduled for 5 p.m., will be the 10th meeting between both sides. Nigeria have won 5 of the previous 9 encounters, drawing 3, while Gabon's only victory came in the 1990 World Cup qualifier. Still talking football, Cameroon's indomitable Lions will be without key duo Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa and Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting ahead of their 2026 FIFA World Cup playoff against the DR Congo. Anguissa, who was named Serie A Player of the Month for October, picked up an unspecified muscular injury during training with the indomitable Lions this week and could be set for a spell on the sidelines. A former Bayern Munich striker Choupo-Moting was also injured on the same day. Goalkeeper Andre Onana is a major doubt for the playoffs as he is struggling with a knee injury. Cameroon will face the Leopards in the second semi-final of the playoffs at the Al Braid Stadium, Rabat, on Thursday. The winner will face either Nigeria or Gabon in the final at the Prince Moulay Al Hassan Stadium in Rabat on Sunday. And now to football in Europe. Premier League strugglers Wolverhampton Wanderers confirmed the appointment of Rob Edwards as their new head coach on a 3.5-year contract on Wednesday. Edwards has left Championship Middlesbrough and replaces Victor Pereira, who was sacked by Wolves earlier this month. The 42-year-old, who managed Luton in the Premier League, faces a huge task to extend Wolves' 8-year stay in the top flight. Wolves have taken just 2 points from their opening 11 league games, losing 9 times to sink to the bottom of the table. Edwards will be in his 4th spell at Wolves after making 111 appearances as a player, as well as enjoying time at the Midlands club as a coach and interim manager. The 2028 Los Angeles Olympics competition schedule was unveiled on Wednesday by organizers, including a showcase sports for the women's 100 meters and a Super Saturday session. Early 28 revealed a detailed schedule earlier than usual. It starts with the opening ceremony on July 14th and ends with the closing ceremony on July 30th. Now, the biggest ever games will feature 11,200 athletes in 51 sports across 49 venues. Every team sport will feature an equal or greater number of women's teams compared to men's teams for the first time, with 50.5% of total athletes being women. On day 1, July 15, the most women's finals ever aired on one day will be contested, starting with women's triathlon with a spotlight on the women's 100 meters final. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. And Favor Itwa Entertainment is up next with Edewo.
Edewo has tonight's entertainment.
Thank you very much, Felicity. Let's jump right into it. Now, let's go straight. As former BB Niger star Tacha Akide has made history by earning 2 Guinness World Records for completing the most cosmetic makeovers in 8 and 24 hours. The achievement was confirmed after she completed 82 makeovers in 8 hours and 144 in 24 hours during the Tacha Beauty Festival held in October. That's from 10th to 12th. And at the John Randall Center here in Lagos. In an emotional post, Tacha put her on social media. She thanked her fans, her team, and her late mother. She reflected on sleepless nights, shaky hands, and pure determination, calling the win grace in action. Now, Tacha said the record was born out of her passion for makeup and her desire to show that African women can achieve anything with resilience, creativity, and courage. Well, what can we say? Anything that puts Nigeria on the map, we're always here for it. Felicity, what do you think about these 2 records?
I mean, we have to give it to her. She's a hard worker.
She's a hard worker.
And her hard work is paying off.
All right. Now, let's go quickly into what's next. I'm talking about Wendy Williams. Now, Wendy Williams in the news, and she's fighting back for her freedom after new medical tests reveal that she does not have the frontotemporal dementia, the diagnosis that's placed her under court order guardianship since 2022. Now, the former talk show queen, who's been under strict control for her finances and medical care for over 3 years, recently underwent extensive neurological exams that showed no sign of brain disease. Now, her lawyer, Joe Tacompina, plans to file to, terminate the guardianship, arguing that the medical basis no longer exists. Her case could, reshape how courts handles and conservatorships for celebrities and other adults. That's a big win, I would say, for Wendy there. But that's all we have on entertainment tonight, by the way.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. As always, we would love your feedback. Please share them using the number showing now on your screen. You can also follow us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Good night.